Hey guys, Yips here, coming out with another video, and this one is going to be about Fatal Echo as well as Reap Souls. Now, Fatal Echo is a very kind of advanced, very controversial topic when it comes to UA Warlocks, and Reap Soul is the exact same. So it's going to be kind of an interesting discussion here that I'm going to bring to you today, but it's also a question that a lot of Warlocks have been asking me. So we're going to start with the way that you should be managing your Fatal Echo procs, and then after we start by talking the way you should manage your Fatal Echo procs, we'll move into the Reap Soul discussion. So what Fatal Echo is, it's a trait that you have that makes Unstable Affliction have a chance to reapply itself when it expires. Now, this trait is doubled by Reap Soul, so that means obviously the chance goes to 12% per UA when you have Reap Soul active, okay? Now, the situation that a lot of Warlocks find themselves in is when they have their three base dots, Agony, Corruption, and Siphon Life, and they cast 2 to 3 UAs on the boss and they drain them. What ends up happening is if those UAs Fatal Echo, their dots are going to fall off, right? Your Corruption, your Agony, and your Siphon Life will fall off, but you're still going to have all these UAs on the target. And the question is, when you're running Malefic Grasp, should you continue to drain? Should you refresh your dots and then drain? What should you do? So basically the answer to this, and what I kind of do as a Warlock, is if I'm at a low soul shard count, so if I'm at like 1 or 2 soul shards, even if I get any amount of Fatal Echo, I will just drain it off for the full duration. I will never let Agony fall. That is important to note. Never let Agony fall. The 10 stack is too important, and the shard gen. But I will let Corruption and Siphon Life fall at a low shard count, no matter the situation, okay? If I'm sitting at a higher amount of shards and I'm able to, continue the cycle of refresh my dots, get my UAs out, I'm a little more willing to let my Fatal Echoes expire without me draining them, okay? But if I do have 2 or more Fatal Echoes happen on the boss and my dots are expiring, I tend to drain them off. I only refresh for my Agony. I do let my Siphon Life and my Corruption fall off. So let me see if I can get a situation here where I have this happen so I can show you guys. It's kind of hard to get on video because obviously it's a very RNG chance, but say here, if I was to cast a bunch of UAs on the boss and they were to Fatal Echo, you see here I'm draining them all off. And if I was to get any of these guys to Fatal Echo, like right now, for example, my dots would fall off, and like see here, my dots will start to fall off. In this situation, I would just go ahead and reapply my dots because I'm at a high soul shard count and just let this UA expire. But if it was 2 or more of those UAs Fatal Echoing, I would just continue to drain them, continue to get the maximum benefit possible from those Unstable Afflictions on the boss, okay? So that's how you want to be managing Fatal Echo. If you're at a low shard count, milk it as much as possible, but if you're sitting at a higher shard count, just go about your cycle unless you're getting 2 or more of those to proc, okay? So that kind of covers Fatal Echoes. Now, tying in closely with Fatal Echoes is what to do if you're just sitting at 5 soul shards and you just keep draining over and over again. My general rule with how many UAs you should be dumping at 5 soul shards is 3. Like, I never dump more than 3. Even if I'm proccing like crazy and sitting at a relatively high number of shards, I only ever dump a maximum of 3. You don't want to screw yourself over in terms of shard gen. You don't want to screw yourself over in terms of casting too many UAs. And another reason that you should only really ever be casting 3 is by the time you cast 4 and drain them all off, your dots are going to have fallen off, okay? So just 3 is really the maximum that you ever want to cast unless like the boss is going to die or you have some sort of crazy damage modifier, okay? So that's Fatal Echo. Let's move into Reap Souls. Now, Reap Souls is also a fairly difficult topic to talk about with regards to UA dumping and getting all your damage out on the boss. I'm just going to tell you guys kind of how I go about doing it when I'm raiding and how I like to work it. So the way that I like to work it is either I use 1 to 2 Reaps or 4 Reaps, okay? I never really use 3 because 3 Reaps doesn't last 2 cycles, and I'll kind of talk about what I mean, okay? So let me just use my Reap here and click it off and generate some Reap. So the situation where I would use 1 Reap is if I'm casting my UAs, I have 1 Reap available, I will use it late into the UAs, okay? Now you might be wondering, why don't you just pop that 1 Reap right away to get a lot of benefit out of it? And the reason I would use 1 Reap soul stack early on when I'm casting these UAs like here, I will use it a little bit late into the UA duration like this, is because I want to try to clip them at the very end of the cast in order to get as many Fatal Echoes as possible. So you see there, but just by using that 1 Reap stack, I doubled my chance to get my Fatal Echo procs on those UAs, and I had a couple happen. So here again, I have 1 Tormented Reap stack. I'll cast, 3 UAs. I'll wait a second before I pop it. I'll pop it now in hopes of getting the Fatal Echo to proc, okay? So that's how you want to be working with 1 UA or 1 Reap stack. You can use it on a 3 UA dump, a 2 to 3 UA dump, but you want to pop it a little later than normal as to make sure that your UAs expire while you're under the effect of the Reap Soul as to double the Fatal Echo chance, okay? Now, the other situation where I'll use Reap is when I'm dumping 3, I'll use 2 Reap. The reason you don't really want to use 3 though, and I'll try to show you here if I can get 3 Reap stacks available to me, is because if you have 3 Reap, you're not able to do 2 full cycles of UAs, but if you have 4 Reap, you are able to do 2 cycles, okay? So let me see if I can just bait out one more Reap here and show you guys what I mean. But the general idea is with 3 Reap, it only lasts 15 seconds, which is not enough to get 2 cycles out. 2 cycles takes you about 20 seconds with UAs, and 4 stacks is enough to get you. So here I have 3, or here's 4. I'll show you guys how the 2 cycle works with 4 anyways. So if I was to go in here with these 4 Reap stacks and dump my UAs, you see here, I have a relatively long time on my harvester, and it's going to allow me to get 2 channels off. So you see here, I got 1 channel off of my UAs. I'm able to refresh my dots. And now I'm able to go in for another channel. Now my Whispers does proc here. I'll click that off because it would kind of skew the numbers here. But you see, I'm able to get another channel off with my UAs with that Reap stack. And after this, I'll be done, right? I won't be able to get another full channel in. So at 4, you're able to get 2 full cycles of the UAs. But if I was at a 3 stack of Reap, let's see here if I can get to 3. Or I can even show you with just 2, right? If I was to use 2 Reap stacks on these UAs here, well, there's a 3 stack, lasts 19 seconds, right? So this is my first channel. And channel them all off and go for the refresh here. It barely, for me, I'm using Reap and Sow, but it barely covers my 3rd set, right? Like I'm casting my UAs here. It won't clip these UAs at the end, right? It's 3 seconds left. It won't clip any of these UAs, which is what you want it to do. If I had 4, it would have clipped, okay? So that's the general rule for playing an Affliction Warlock. You want to be using them at 1, 2, and 4 and above stacks. 3 is kind of that awkward number where you're kind of uncomfortable using your Reap because you're not able to get 2 cycles out of it, so you waste a lot of time on the UA damage. But in general, that's how you guys are going to be wanting to play around with Fatal Echo and your Reap stacks. Hope you guys like this video. Hope it helps you and gives you some insight about how to play with your shards, how to play with Fatal Echoes, and how to play with Reap Souls, and I will see you guys later.